RowCall219 here, and it's October 1st, and it's hunting season. Today was the first day of bow season, so I want to share a hunting story with you. This happened to me last year. I think there's a lot of things that we can learn from this, and we'll go over it at the end. So, leading up to Thanksgiving Day of last year, I had an opportunity to go out to the farm and harvest an animal. So the first, I believe, 2 days, there wasn't much action. There wasn't a whole lot of animals or movement. We did see some, but it wasn't in the shooting time period that's in the hunting rules for the state of Indiana. After we saw those animals, we didn't see them again for the majority of the day. I only had an opportunity in a window to hunt 3 to 4 hours each day. So with that being said, it was limited in the opportunities that I had. So a day or two goes by. I even went out by myself and saw nothing. Didn't even see the animals move during the non-shooting hours. So with that, I kind of felt like I may not achieve my goal, which is filling my 2 tags. So sitting there and not seeing anything, and then going to work, I thought to myself, I gotta put something together. I gotta have the right strategy. So as I'm going over some things at night, getting ready to hunt the next day, I pull up, I put on my clothes, I wait for Dan to come outside, we go to the blind. An hour or two passes, and a little spike comes out. And he comes out off the left side, and I kind of didn't want to harvest this animal because he was young. And I don't like to harvest the real young animals. I think that's taken away from the ecosystem in the area, in the environment. So we watched him for a minute, and he turned around and he melted back into the woods. He never showed back up. As Dan did a rattle, a buck came about 20 feet from where the other smaller buck had come out of, trotting. The way he was acting, I think he was the most predominant buck in the area at the time. As I got down in my shooting position, I looked at Dan and asked him if I could harvest the animal. He said yes. And as I got back into my shooting position, I think the mistakes I made were novice. I rushed the shot and I missed the animal. So after missing the animal, during the whole course of the day, and as I got home, I replayed it through my mind, and made sure that if I have another chance and another opportunity to harvest an animal, I'm not going to make those mistakes again. It's critical, it's crucial at this point in time in the season that I don't do this. It's not a long window, and I don't do the other things like muzzle loading or shooting bow. So this has to happen. Not only that, is when you're shooting on someone else's property, you do not want to scare these animals off the property. You don't want to ruin that hunting spot. So again, that's critical that I do not mess this up again. So the next couple of days pass, and we go out, and as that I pull into the driveway and I start putting my stuff on, waiting for Dan to come out, I'm replaying that scenario of the miss in my head of what not to do, and hoping if I do get another chance to harvest an animal, not to make these mistakes, to be patient, persevere, and have confidence. As we walk out to the blind, I go through the scenario of hopefully how the deer will react, how I'll harvest this animal. A couple hours pass while we're sitting in the blind on Thanksgiving Day, and again, we only have a small opportunity, a small window to harvest an animal because it's Thanksgiving. Everybody's getting ready. They're at home, preparing the meals for Thanksgiving to give thanks. And as we're sitting there, off the back of the property, 4 or 5 does come in, and as they're walking down the line, they're not really stopping. They're just gradually moving towards the woods. And at that point, the gun that I was using is capable of making a shot. Again, another failure on my part is confidence. After missing the first animal at about 150 yards, this is about a 250 yard shot. The rifle I have is capable. Now I'm thinking I'm not capable of making this shot. That's another lesson. So as they're moving down the line, they get to the other woods on the edge, and they melt in, and they never come back out. Even though I set back up to where there's some trails where I can shoot in a safe direction, and they might pop out there and I can get a shot on them and I can harvest one of these animals. It never materialized. They never came back out. As I sat back down, he nudged me and pointed to the area where the does had came out. It was a buck. So again, I'm replaying this in my head of, slow down, get down in your shooting stance. This buck is walking the same path as the does. Again, it's another 250 yard shot. At this point, I look inside myself and say, you have to make this shot if he gives you this opportunity. It's a long shot, but you can do it. As he's walking down the path, he turns and comes into the field. We're sitting across the field. So now he's coming in even closer. And he's moving in, and we're not using any kind of calls. He's just kind of directing himself through the field. And as I look over to Dan and I ask him if I can have permission to take the animal, he says yes. I get down in shooting position, and the switch flips in the back of my head is, don't rush this shot. Don't do what you did on the previous animal. Take your time, watch the animal, make the shot. So as I sat there, I watched the animal, and he turned and looked directly at us. At that point, I thought that with me being kind of far out of the blind, that I may have made a mistake and made our presence known. But he kind of looked the other way, turned broadside, and as I took a deep breath, I let it out and I squeezed the trigger and I harvested the animal. So with that all being said, I think there's some things to take away from this. Not only to take away as me personally, but for younger hunters, people that are getting into hunting, is everybody's liable to make mistakes, no matter who they are or how skilled they are. And the biggest thing is correcting these mistakes, taking your time, believing in yourself, your confidence, and to always be confident in yourself that you can make a shot. Give yourself patience. The old saying, patience is a virtue, is true. Be prepared. Preparation is key in deer hunting, and I've seen it and I've lived it. So I think that's very important. It's important to take these skills and pass them down to future hunters, to understand about the ecosystem, the animals themselves, and to understand that no one's perfect. You can make these mistakes that I just described, and you can overcome them. The one thing I think the younger generation doesn't understand is you're able to make mistakes in life in whatever we do, but we always have the chance to correct them. We always have a chance to navigate ourselves and put ourselves in a position to be successful, even though we do have failures or we do make mistakes. And this is a good example of it. Was it picture perfect things you see on the internet? No, it wasn't. This took a lot of confidence to harvest this animal. For some hunters, they might think of it at a different way, but that's how it felt to me. That you have to be confident in yourself. You have to be prepared. If you do make a mistake, that you can correct those mistakes, and then you can overcome it and then be successful. So I hope that people will learn from this video that you can be self-sufficient in life. Nature has a broad cupboard, and as you open that cupboard, that you be a good conservationist, and always remember that you get out what you put in. And with the time spent in the woods this past year, I can take that experience that I had last year, and now I can apply it to this year to not make the same mistakes that I made last year, and be even more proficient in harvesting an animal and feeding my family. It's always a great feeling to open up a freezer and take food out that you harvest yourself, that you put yourself in that position to be self-reliant. And you didn't have to go to a grocery store when there's a hot sale on ground beef and look in there and there's nothing there and think that you know, everything's over with. This is a great way to teach kids in the younger generation that you can be self-sufficient. You don't always have to rely on a grocery store. And when you do have these opportunities, to make the most of them, that you can overcome your mistakes in life, in hunting, or whatever your passion is. The key is to always learn from them. So hopefully this knowledge will be passed on, not only to my son, but other people that watch the videos that I make, whichever they may be. And so I hope you enjoyed that story. If you like videos like this, I have a couple more that I can make and make this into a little series. If you'd like it, hit the thumbs button, share the video, leave a comment below. That always helps out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share it all over the internet. And like always, I'll catch you on the next one. And don't forget to wear your orange while you're hunting. Safety first.